This next one was suggested in the Suggested by Jim Discord channel by Cornbread. Thank you very much for doing that, because it's a good pick. It is a good pick. So if you have shorts or something to do on the show, or even a movie, let me know, because this was a cool idea. Now I'm going to talk about this thing called Scott Pilgrim vs. the Animation. What was this basically? It's basically a 3-minute short as it is now. You can find it on YouTube and so forth, about 3 minutes and change. And what it originally was were bumpers that aired on Adult Swim on August 12th, 2010, around the time of the release of the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World movie. They're basically bumpers during commercial breaks on Adult Swim, but they're kind of animated in the style of Brian Lee O'Malley's Scott Pilgrim comic. And I really like the style of this. I've heard people constantly say there should be a Scott Pilgrim cartoon, and I'd heard of it, and I saw it like 10 years ago now. And I remember thinking this was really cool, and I was hoping like they would make a Scott Pilgrim cartoon. They never have, but I understand the hunger or the thirst for that after watching this. Now, this had a lot of the voices from the movie: Michael Cera, Alison Pill, Jason Schwartzman, and Mae Whitman. It also has Steve Blum as the teacher. He says like 2 lines, but he was there. It's cool because it's like the style of the comics, very much Brian Lee O'Malley, who directed these. It feels like his comic in color and all that stuff. It also pays tribute to the movie and the cutting around style of that. It felt very stylized in the way the movie was. Even though the style is very much, within his comics thing, you think that could get bored and it's a little more simpler at the beginning. It really, like, when it has the fight scenes and more exciting stuff, it zooms in to the frames. It, does a lot of quick cutting and stuff like that. It gets really exciting as it goes on. And it made me really into this, actually. I was surprised how much I was into this again, because the first couple bumpers I think would have been like, oh, okay, whatever. But as it goes on, it like gets you in more and more, actually, which I really liked about this. This was simple, but it had a really great aesthetic, actually. That aesthetic of his comic, which I think worked well for this. Obviously, that's the way his characters are designed and stuff. But the way just like it moved in the comic and stuff, it felt like a weird mixture between those old Marvel animations where it just be the actual comic with like a few mouths moving and crap. But it also, I think, had a little more style than that. So it was like kind of felt old and new at the same time. It felt like an old boring comic book thing, but like edited and animated in an exciting way. It was later, and Adult Swim even released it online and so forth. So most people now have seen it in the Altogether thing. I'm curious what it was like what it Adult Swim thing it aired with, actually. The animation is directly an adaptation of the first chapter of the book 2 of Scott Pilgrim. It just has a real good pop of it. Stylistically, it works really well. It's a really short, kind of quick thing, but it makes you see that there's a lot more promise to the Scott Pilgrim IP, and that it would be really great as a cartoon, and it could play, as a separate thing as a movie. Well, also, I feel like a lot of the style of the movie is in here. It feels like very Edgar Wright, but it also feels very Brian Lee O'Malley. It feels more Brian Lee O'Malley than Edgar Wright versus the movie. So far, it feels like you're getting the opposite end of what the movie is creatively. But I still, after watching this, I was like, can we have this be a show? Why isn't this a show? And I think it was like a pilot. Maybe it was too expensive. Maybe they couldn't pay Michael Cera in 2010 because people still thought he was a movie star and stuff like that. But I just think this would have been such a cool cartoon had it happened. I really wish it had. Unfortunately, it didn't. And so all we got is this kind of quick little bumper thing, this 3-minute sort of weird pilot or whatever the fuck it was. There's no movement on what it was other than to kind of promote the theatrical release of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But I think it promoted it so well, it kind of became its own thing. And fun little promotional things like this are always just exciting. This gets you excited for the IP, much like the video game was at the same time. But I wish they'd done more with this, because it's a real damn shame that they never did. Because I feel like there's definitely a show in the way they made this. It feels like there's almost too much thought going on to it for them to just throw it away. Fortunately, they did, and this is all we got. And it just makes me wonder and hope for something more. As for right now, it's just glad we got these 3 minutes and how cool they really are.